What do a drowned coastline, a broken empire, a whisper that rewrote physics, a flag planted on the coldest point on Earth, and a vote that redrew the world Nepal have in common? They all happened on the same date. December 14th isn't just another square on the calendar. It's a hinge in time. Where seas advanced, armies collapsed, atoms behaved strangely, nations stood up, and explorers stared at nothing but white and kept going. This is marked by history. Today, 5 moments on December 14th that still echo in how we live, think, and cooperate now. Let's step into the water, the snow, the assembly hall, and the lab, and see the links. Night. Cold wind knifes in from the North Sea. Tides rise higher than the old stories warned, then higher still. On December 14th, 1287, the St. Lucia's flood roars over medieval dikes in what's now the Netherlands and northern Germany. Between 50 and 80,000 lives are gone in hours. Villages erased. Farms salted. Parents calling names into black water. But the water doesn't just recede and apologize. It redraws the map. A freshwater lake gives way to salt. The Zuiderzee opens to the sea. Coastlines tear. Islands appear. Trade routes shift. Amsterdam's future, strangely, becomes possible because the sea moved in. The headline of that night is tragedy. The legacy is engineering. Because after grief comes resolve. Centuries of Dutch water works begin with a vow to hold the line. Better dikes. Polders reclaimed. Canals planned with almost musical precision. It's the long arc from flooding to mastery. From what can we survive to what can we design? Listen carefully and you can hear today's questions inside that storm. As seas rise again, as storms intensify, the Low Countries are still the world's classroom on adaptation. They teach that human resilience is not a poem. It's concrete. Sluice gates, legal codes, and maintenance schedules. December 14th, 1287 is grief written in water. And also a blueprint, literally, for living with a restless planet. Banners tattered. Boots splitting. Frost turning breath to glass. By mid-December 1812, Napoleon's Grand Army is no longer grand. Hundreds of thousands marched east in triumph. A fraction staggers west in silence. On December 14th, the last survivors cross back over the Niemen and out of Russia. An invasion ends. A legend cracks. The retreat is a string of horrors. Hunger, cold, ambush, the nightmare crossing of the Berezina. But the moment the army quits Russian soil is the click of a lock turning. Europe hears it. Allies smell weakness. The myth of the unbeatable emperor fades like a campfire in snow. This isn't only a story of winter. It's a study in logistics, hubris, and the limits of momentum. Musket balls and artillery decide battles. Supply lines and weather decide wars. Napoleon's maps were perfect until reality. Distances, calories, morale made them useless. From that December day, dominoes fall. Coalitions stiffen. By 1814, abdication. By 1815, Waterloo. Then the diplomats gather at Vienna and thread a new balance of power through the continent. If the flood was a lesson in hydrology and planning, this is strategy by subtraction. What you cannot carry, you lose. What you cannot feed, you cannot fight. And what you cannot predict will undo you anyway. The snow keeps its counsel. But December 14th, 1812 keeps its warning. Don't mistake momentum for invincibility. Picture a lecture hall in Berlin, December 14th, 1900. Chalk dust floats. Equations crowd a blackboard like city streets. And a reserved physicist named Max Planck clears his throat and commits the most productive heresy in modern science. Energy, he says, doesn't flow like syrup. It comes in packets. Quanta. It sounds small, the tiniest of tiny ideas. Yet it detonates the 19th century's confidence in a clockwork universe. Planck isn't trying to be a rebel. He's trying to make the math fit the lab. But once you accept those discrete packets, the rest follows. Electrons jump. Light behaves like both wave and bullet. And certainty gives way to probability. You and I live inside that December evening. Every semiconductor in your pocket, the laser at the grocery till, the MRI that images a beating heart, they all hum in Planck's key. A technical fix for an embarrassing thermal problem becomes the opening chapter of quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics becomes the operating system of the modern world. Notice the pattern. A single talk on a cold night quietly reprograms reality. No parade. No army. Just a chalkboard and an idea that refuses to behave. From medieval dikes to frozen roads to quanta, the through line is not spectacle. It's stubbornness with evidence. Planck's gut says, the data are right, the worldview can adjust. On December 14th, physics blinked and the universe looked back in pixels. White in every direction. No landmarks. Only sky, wind, and resolve. December 14th, 1911. Roald Amundsen and his team ski the last meters to the geographic South Pole. They plant the Norwegian flag. They take navigational fixes again and again to be sure. They build a small tent and leave a letter for the rival they know is coming. Captain Robert Falcon Scott. The romance of the race is well known. But listen for the deeper note. Logistics, animal power, and humility before a place that doesn't negotiate. Amundsen studies Inuit technique. He perfects clothing layers, fuel calculations, depot placement. He trusts dogs and skis. His genius is not dominance. It's fit. 5 weeks later, Scott's team arrives, heroic and exhausted, then pays the ultimate price on the return. The contrast is brutal and instructive. Exploration is not only courage, it's choosing the right constraints. Why does this matter now? Because Antarctica, once a canvas for national glory, becomes a laboratory for international cooperation. In the decades after Amundsen, science stations multiply. The Antarctic Treaty demilitarizes a continent and centers research. The pole turns from trophy to testbed. For climate records, ice cores, the physics of our atmosphere. Amundsen's tent in the wind was a moment. The real legacy is a method. Prepare beyond ego, borrow from those who know the land, and respect environments that don't care about your plans. On December 14, 1911, a moon reached a coordinate. A century later, we're still learning how to live by what that coordinate taught. Now shift to New York, December 14, 1960. The General Assembly Hall is full. 100 accents, restless history in every seat. Resolution 1514 is on the floor. The words are simple and thunderous. Peoples have the right to self-determination. Colonialism must end swiftly and unconditionally. The vote passes. Applause breaks like rain after a long dry season. This is not magic. Empires don't vanish because a sentence says so. But language matters. Especially here. The world's parliament elevates an ethic into a norm into pressure, pressure into a timetable. The Year of Africa had already begun. Dozens more flags will be raised in the 1960s and beyond. Look at a map before and after. Colonial pink fades. New borders appear. New arguments begin, too. Independence is not a cure-all, but the principle stands. People are not possessions. What's modern about this moment? Everything. The international order we recognize. Sovereign equality, decolonization as a moral baseline, a committee that still tracks the last non-self-governing territories. Flows from this vote. Human rights language migrates from declarations to constitutions. Movements find legal handles to pull. If Planck gave us the physics of the micro, 1514 gave us the politics of the many. It's a reminder that ideas can be infrastructure, too. Scaffolding that holds up expectations. On December 14, 1960, the world didn't become just, but it did become louder with the right to try. 5 scenes. 1 date. A flood that forced a country to reinvent itself with walls and pumps. A retreat that reshaped power by exposing limits. A chalkboard whisper that became the hum of modern life. A flag in the quiet and a future of science over conquest. A vote that told the world its new baseline. Different as they are, they share a habit, turning shock into structure. Disaster becomes engineering. Defeat becomes doctrine. Anomalies become theories. Words become norms. Exploration becomes cooperation. December 14th is a reminder that history isn't only drama. It's maintenance. It's revision. It's the slow, sometimes stubborn work of learning from what the day delivers and building systems that last longer than any storm, campaign, or expedition. This has been marked by history. Which of these 5 moments surprised you most? And why? Tell us in the comments, and if you want more dates that secretly hold the world together, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll meet you on the next page of the calendar.